dark. Annie over,
Yeah.
ball, stay out in the yard, watch the fries light up, and get us a fruit jar, put a hole in the lid. We'd play. We'd say, Mama, do we have to come in? Yes, you have to come in. They'd have a great old big tub, number 3 tub. Get in that tub. All 5 of us take a bath in that tub.
We went to Aunt Maggie's one time, and she was so proud of the fact that they finally had an indoor toilet, because we used to have to go to the outhouse. And somebody had told me that if you went to an outhouse, a snake would bite you on the butt. So it's just like, I did not want to go to that outhouse. Well, one year we went down there and they had indoor toilet. So we were so excited about it. Well, they had a bathtub, but they didn't have it hooked up right. So they poured water in the bathtub, and that's the first time in my life I ever wanted to be first in the bathtub. It's like you didn't want to be last.
Oh no.
Baby out with the bathwater.
First time Chill went to the town and saw a toilet with, the where you flush, he called it a doo-doo damper.
A doo-doo damper?
There was a damper on the stovepipe, to cut the flame down. He said, came back and told his mother, he said, he did the doo-doo damper on that thing, whatever that thing was. He didn't know.
That's funny.
Well, the first time you see things, you don't know what they are. First time I saw an elevator going up and down in New York, I'd never seen an elevator. We was on the farm. When I was Mom, all they'd done was farm. I'd never been anywhere. I got on that train road for 3 days, and when I got out down in under here, Grand Central Station, I thought I was in New York. I wasn't. Down in on the ground, but I saw people going up. There's one woman in our church, Jean. She said she stayed for 3 days. She didn't know to go up. We arrived to know. Us old people, we didn't know nothing. She said she sat there for 3 days and she thought better go up. I went up, and when I went up, Lord, there was more people in New York than I could ever seen, so I didn't know what to do. They could spot you a mile back then. And the bank man asked me that night, that Monday, when I went to the thing, he said, would you like for me? And I went to the bank and walked in, and they had cops standing everywhere. And I said, have y'all had a robbery? And they said, no. And I said, I need a job. And they said, go to Mr. Moore back there. And I went to Mr. Moore, and I told him I needed a job. And he said, well, have you ever worked in the bank? I said, I've never seen one. He said, well, how do you know you can't? And I said, somebody told them how. And he said, well, if you told them, maybe. I said, I can do what they can do. He said, did you ever go to school? I said, yeah, to the 12th grade. I thought, I'm just as good as they are, but they probably went to college. But I stand there looking at him, and he said, well, make out an application and come back tomorrow, and I can tell you. I'll have to talk to the president. I said, that won't do. I can't go home. I can't go till I get a job. And he said, well, I said, let me see the president. He said, you have to have an appointment. I said, well, I ain't got time to have no appointment. Just tell him I want to talk to him. It wasn't long. The president came out. He was a little bitty man, and he had his glasses way down on his nose. He looked at me. He looked me up and down. You ever worked in the bank? I said, no. I've never seen inside a bank. We didn't have no money. He said, how do you know you can? I said, I told this gentleman that if they could, I can. If you'll tell me what to do, I can do it. He said, you sure are brave. I said, well, I got to have a job. I don't want to go home. He said, where are you from? I said, Arkansas. He said, oh, they're down there where they stay barefooted all the time. I said, no, we wear shoes. I sent a pair of shoes back to him when I got home. In fact, I talked to the president of the bank that day and trying to get a job right in the middle of the bank. I mean, right standing there and just standing up there writing the thing. And he said, do you want me to send you home in a bank car? I said, does a black man drive it? He said, yeah. I said, Mama said for me not to get in the car with nobody. He said, your mama here? I said, no, Mama said Arkansas. I can well imagine what they thought of me. You little hick, you'll never amount to nothing. But they hired me just out of curiosity. I got in that place by the power of the Holy Spirit talking through me just because they had never heard a Southerner.
How old were you?
17.
What year was that then?
1940. Well, whatever. I graduated
Yeah.
16. Shug and I had been married 3 months when he went in service. He went to Camp Lejeune and trained. And back in those days, they didn't have time to train them. About 6 weeks and they were out of there. And he went to Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. Well, when I was working down at where we were, doing books with Mrs. Moore, and he called one day on the telephone and said, Chuck, can you come for a week? I said, I don't know, Chuck. He said, well, ask Mr. Langston if you can come for a week. And I went in the office and I said, Mr. Langston, can I go see Chuck for a week? And he said, yeah. He said, you got any money? I said, yes, sir. And he said, you can go for a week. I said, well, if I go, will I have my job when I come back? He said, Doris, you'll have a job anytime you come back. But if you go see Hot, they called him Hot Jackson. If you go see Hot, he'll never let you come back. I said, I can't stay. I ain't got any money. And he said, you can have money. I'll give you money. I said, yeah, but after so long, it'll run out, and I don't have a job. I don't know what to do. He said, you'll make it. You'll make it. He said, go up there and stay with him. And I pulled out on a train from Steele, Missouri. We rode 3 days on an old coal train, and we had soot everywhere. You remember how they did the coal back in those days? And they had mostly servicemen on that train that day. They were transporting everybody. You know, Pearl Harbor had hit, and we were all in a dither because they had put, everything was in chaos. You think 9/11 was in chaos. We were in chaos. I mean, everything went blow up. I just went all to pieces. And then when I got there, you just see soldier after soldier, you know, going here, there, and yonder. And I think that's the reason they had people like me, but they wanted people that would probably stay with them. People were just, the Army was taking everything they had of those young people, all those men, and there wasn't but one man in that building, in that bank that got left, and he was an older man. But they had young men in there that they took. And they were hiring people like me. But I guess back in those days, that Pearl Harbor thing, when it hit, it shook America. It really did. 9/11 was chaotic. But it wasn't anything like we went through. Because we couldn't get sugar, we couldn't get coffee, we couldn't get shoes. There was a lot of things that was cut off you couldn't get. So. It was, of course, back in those days, Chu and I had just been married 3 months when he left. And I stayed with him 2 years and came back, and he was gone 2 years. But then when he came back, he wasn't anything like her dad. And that was strictly hard. But we made it. We couldn't give up. There wasn't no way. But that when you go to war, I don't care who you are, you don't come back the same. That's the reason I hate to see young people go. Guns are fine, but when you wake up in the night and you're trying to keep a Jap off of you for putting a bayonet through you, it's hard. I called Dr. Sarno many times and said, come help me. The doctor knew what to do when he was fine in daytime, just a normal person, but at night he fought the Japs. He fought that Iwo Jima thing. He fought, he would hit his head against the bed and fight and beg and plead, and he'd rear back like he was going to stick, this elbow would bleed. I'd sit there and I was scared to go to sleep, but you can't touch him. She never touched her daddy after he went to bed. We walked softly in our house. But people don't think about that. Some of them never know that they change. But then in the daytime, Daddy was right, all right.
Unless you made him mad.
Huh?
Unless you made him mad.
Yeah, he had a temper. But
He was probably
do
tired
know-
all the time.
I think we all have a temper. Even I had one. I don't like to admit it. Well, the strawberries were good.